Hey guys, Coach Rye here, Team Flex. I want to get into breaking down the judging criteria of wellness for you, okay? It's a question I get all the time from people saying, hey, what's up, coach? What's the deal with wellness? This is a new division. I don't really know what I'm supposed to look like. What do the judges want to see? I mean, it's something we hear all the time, and, I've heard so many competitors, they've gone to stage and they've got results they weren't happy with. They didn't place the way they want. They were kind of blindsided by either the fact they tried to prep themselves or they assumed they were wellness, or, they had a coach that didn't know what they were doing and, put them on stage when they shouldn't have been there, or they didn't have the right things, in advance going to stage. And that becomes a huge issue, right? I mean, you're not going to enjoy competing if you've done this whole prep, you've done all the work, you've done all these things, you've been told you were doing the right stuff for you, and then you get to stage and you're not, placing the way you deserve to in your mind, all right? And so I really want to break down the criteria and talk with you a little bit about this and kind of explain that, hey, it's okay to not understand the wellness division all the way. I mean, it's the newest women's division, and I get messages literally every single day, probably 15, 20, sometimes more messages from different coaches around the world trying to figure this out. And they're saying, hey, Coach Rye, what's the deal with wellness? How do I get the legs like this? How do I get the glutes like this? How do we get the shoulders like this? What do the judges want to see? And that's why I'm making this video. I'm going to break it down for you step by step on the screen here, and we're going to talk about it, looking at some of the top wellness athletes, and we're going to just talk about really what the judges want to see in every division. Okay, so if you look at the screen now, I'm going to start drawing for you. All right, so wellness. What makes wellness? You have to understand, first off, is it's this lower body dominant version of bikini, right? And I say that because bikini was around for a long time. Bikini we've had for years. I mean, most people kind of know what that is, but wellness came along to be the example for, okay, this is where we assert the lower body dominance, right? So if you're looking at the screen here, this is Francine Matos. She is Miss Wellness Olympia of, last year, 2021, and, likely to see that reign continue for the most part, right? But we're going to review a few of them. Let's just talk first about the shape. So right here, we can see what makes wellness in this center pose here, this quarter turn, okay, where realistically, this is where we get to see this over dominant lower body hourglass kind of shape, okay? So we have the upper body, it tapers down, and then we get over dominance in the lower body. The glutes and the quads and all that are hypertrophied to a bigger degree, a larger degree, more muscle development than we're going to see in bikini. And that's really what makes wellness, okay? So let's just start top down and with that understanding and look what the muscles are, all right? So judges, when they want to see you in wellness, they're going to look first off, for the most part, at this upper body shape. They want to see here, okay, what's going on with the upper body? What are we looking at? We need to see this width, okay? And you'll see this in all three poses, right? In this quarter turn, in this front pose, and in this back pose, there is this width coming from the deltoids, so the shoulders. Now, you'll see the shoulders, they have a very rounded effect here. And you're going to see that in the back, you're going to see that in the front, you're going to see that all around. This roundness effect from the shoulders comes from training these deltoids at, all three angles, basically, right? Getting the front deltoid, getting the lateral head, and then in the back, getting the rear head. And if your shoulders aren't rounded, your shoulders are not, developed enough, you're not going to have that shape, period. And that's going to, detract from that hourglass, because judges want to see this. When they look at you and they see you in wellness and they say, okay, we're looking for that shoulder roundness, it's because they want to see that shoulder roundness, then taper it down into that narrow waist, right? So we talked about how the waist is very narrow in wellness. This is what creates that taper aesthetic for the top portion of this kind of hourglass shape. Now, wellness and bikini, upper body wise, they're pretty much almost the same, okay? They want to see pretty much similar development and same conditioning. And we'll talk more about conditioning when we get there, but for now, we're going to keep rolling with this idea of the upper body, okay? So shoulders, very, very important in wellness to have this rounded, developed shoulder effect. If you don't have that, take the time to build it, because you're going to go to stage and you're not going to look right. It's not going to be, the right shape, and the judges, they will score you down, okay? So make sure you can get the deltoids into a spot where they're developed enough. Now, obviously, when we're talking about training upper body, there's going to be other muscles involved. You'll notice that, wellness, it's not going to have a lot of direct chest work. Pectoral work, not really needed. They're not going to score that in this division. It's not something you need to do. You'll get a lot of secondary work on that. When I'm coaching, wellness competitors, I'm not putting a lot of chest work in there. I know there's a lot of secondary work with my programming going on, and then also making sure, that we're trying to fit the criteria of the division here. So we don't need to do that stuff. We don't need to go out of of the way to try to build pecs like we're in, men's classic physique or something like that when we're in wellness. So not an area you really need to worry about too much. Now, biceps and triceps, okay? Bicep, tricep, we're not going to see a lot of tricep in here. We can look in the back pose and get a little bit of it, but realistically, these are not huge muscle groups the judges are going to be looking at. They're obviously mostly looking at the shape and the development overall. Now, you do want to have some development that's going to match that shoulder development, okay? You don't want to come out there with these huge shoulders and then, no arm muscles. So you want to have a little bit, but it's not a huge focus. When I'm designing wellness programs, for my wellness pros and so on, we're not doing, tons and tons of curls and bicep stuff and tricep stuff. We're really, again, going to cut most of the work from the secondary elements of doing the chest, the push and the pull. You want to do select exercises, things that are going to bring, everything together for that, but it's not a huge focus as far to say, you need a whole arm day or anything like that. I know there's coaches out there doing that and athletes doing that. That's a waste of your time if you're trying to be a wellness competitor, okay? So let's now look a little bit more into the lats, okay? The lats, they're really a key element, again, for helping us create this taper. That's what kind of gets that width and that tapered look, and you'll see it in the front pose, you're going to see it in the quarter turn, and you're going to see it in the back pose. Now, the lats, we'll see more, specifically when we look a little bit deeper down here, but realistically, it's all about creating that taper, which comes from really narrow at the waist in the first place, okay? So the lat development is important, but again, it's not a huge area of focus in wellness, because if you look over here in the back pose, when the judges are going to see your lats, your hair is going to be over it, okay? They don't want you to move your hair. In this division, your hair will be down. Your hair is going to cover it. Most of you probably going to get extensions or something like that. That's what a lot of women do that compete in this division, and they're not going to be scoring your back on muscularity, okay? So really the only way the lats help you is with this taper, and it is an area of focus you'll get in your training program and you want to have in there, but again, select exercises. You don't want to be doing just random exercises for this. You want to be doing everything you can to help create this kind of tapered shape that we keep coming back to, okay? So that's realistically, the upper body portion of muscularity, what the judges are looking for. They want to see that tapered look, the roundness of the shoulders, the arms to match, and the lats to show that, but really the narrow at the waist here, okay? And when we talk about being narrow at the waist, this comes from several things. This comes, from obviously being stage lean, conditioning, which we'll get to in a minute, but also from doing select exercises. You'll notice now we're not seeing a lot of striation, cuts or six-pack abs. Nothing like that's going to be happening in wellness. In a lot of places, it'll score you down if you do, and this is Olympia, and they're not shredded to the bone like that. You don't want to be either, okay? So six-pack and stuff like that, some people worry about. It's not what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on realistically is exercises to draw the waist in, and there are exercises that you can do that will do that for you, actually bring that in. And a lot of competitors, they ask me about waist trainers, and should I be doing that? Should I be trying this cream, that cream? That stuff's all realistically, a waste of a time, or secondary to actually doing the exercise and things like that to make sure that, you're not getting that effect of the blocking out of the waist, right? The actual building out of the waist, which can happen if you don't have the programming right, you don't have the exercise selection right. So again, another reason, real strong echoing here, you need to be doing the right programs, the right things, and that's all also going to be individual to you as a person, okay? So let's move a little bit further down now, though, and look at the lower body, what actually makes wellness, okay? This is what wellness is and why it exists. It's superior glute development and lower body dominance, quad development, okay? So if we look at the glute here, you can see in pretty much every single pose, we're looking at the pros and I'm talking about poses. Pretty much every pose, you're going to see a lot of glute development here, okay? You're going to see that in that front pose. You're going to see that in the side pose. You're going to see it especially in the back pose. And this is stuff the judges are looking for. They want to see this development here and, specifically making sure that you have the fullness, the full development. One of the most common problems I've seen with the amateur athletes going into wellness is they're not getting this development first, right? They might have really big quads, for whatever reason. They have more quad development. Maybe they train that way, or maybe they're next, a track athlete or something like that. And so they have that quad development, but they don't get enough of the glute, and it's going to kill you on stage, okay? When the judges are looking at glutes, they're looking at them in this front pose. They want to see, okay, where's this shape? How much development can we see? How much can we see in the side pose, right? You'll see here on Francini, when we're looking here, you can see even upper glute development, which is huge for the back pose. Over here in the back pose, obviously the glutes, they're taking over the game. I mean, that is what makes makes wellness, and wellness is realistically kind of one from the back in a sense. And you'll see here that the glute development becomes far superior, right, to the point where we're getting, this glute ham tie-in. And this is something competitors always want to, worry about. They want to think about. They want to figure out how to train it. There is no glute ham tie muscle. That literally comes from having such glute development with stage proper conditioning that it pops through. But realistically, it's all about that muscle development that is built to create that shape. And you'll see the upper glute I just mentioned, it becomes very, very important here because this upper glute is what creates this upper shelf, this kind of roundness judges specifically are looking for. If you haven't thought about it, the judges are not looking at you from the perspective you're watching this video. They're not looking at you straight on. What the judges are looking at and what they see is actually coming from a 2-foot lower level on the stage, right? They're below the stage looking up at you, trying to see, your physique from that angle. So if you don't have this upper glute area that I'm talking about, it's going to flatten your glutes out totally. And, that's going to hurt you on stage. Judges want to see that fullness. They want to see that development. They want to see it kind of push to the limit of the women's divisions, right? That's really what makes wellness in the sense, okay? And now with that, the quads come along too. But you're going to notice here, the quads, they're not, over hypertrophied compared to the glutes. The hamstrings and the quads, they're bigger. They're going to definitely be bigger than bikini. But again, very select exercises here that are being done to not over hypertrophy these or over create that over dominance or whatever, right? So you can see from the back post too, this sweeping effect. This is something we won't see in bikini. This comes from having the right quad development in wellness. So when we look at this, we'll see that. We'll see the quads match. We'll see the hamstrings match. Hamstrings and quads are pretty symmetrical. Glutes are very dominant, okay? And overall, when we're looking at this physique, again, what we're talking about is an hourglass shape with an over dominant base. That's what makes wellness, okay? Now, that's all muscles, and we're talking about that being the foundation because it is. Judges want to see the muscularity be the foundation. In fact, the sport of bodybuilding is about building your body, and all these divisions, wellness included, fall into those categories. If you don't have, the right development, you don't have the right muscle, there's really no point to go compete yet because you're not going to be in the spot, to where you're going to do well on stage or as well as you could have. Now, it's not to say you need to look like the top 5 Olympians like we're reviewing here to compete, but this is the criteria the judges want to see. They're going to watch this criteria. They're going to trickle it down all the way to, NPC beginner first time shows. Now, we kind of went over the criteria a little bit. Let's dive a little bit more into some more of the Olympia competitors, okay? Just for a second to review the criteria and make it known because I know it's easy to see with maybe one person, but people get confused how, everybody's placed in this way, that way. What's making wellness? Okay, well, let's look at Angela here. She was number 2 last season at the Olympia, and basically what we're looking at here is the exact same thing. You'll see the width up top, that roundness effect of the shoulders, the tapering at the waist. She has even more of a narrow waist than Francili in a lot of ways. This superior glute development, superior quad development, superior hamstring development, and that creates this shape right here, which is that hourglass shape with the over dominant lower body, okay? And it becomes very important. And you'll see, some parts of her physique are maybe not as strong. She doesn't have as much of a glute ham tie. She has a lot more upper glute development, but maybe she needs to work more lower glute development. Her quads are a bit more, powerful. Maybe that's what ended up putting her into second on stage. But, realistically, when we talk about wellness being wellness, there's certain things that are always going to be there. Let's look at Isabel. She's, took 3rd at Olympia here. And basically, again, same thing. I mean, if you look at the screen, you look at the way I draw on it, it all comes back the exact same way. So hopefully I'm giving you guys a good insight into actually what's going on here with wellness, right? It's this narrowing of the upper body, the over dominant lower body, and making sure all your muscles and shapes are all here. All right, so let's talk for just a minute about conditioning now, right? If we look at each athlete, we can clearly see there's some fundamentals that make wellness. We're talking about the upper to lower body ratio and everything the judges are going to want to see. Now, conditioning is a factor that competitors are always worried about, right? Especially bikini and wellness competitors always thinking they're not lean enough, they're not where they need to be. But what you have to understand about wellness is it's a softer level of conditioning. It's on par with current bikini conditioning, but it's not super hard, super striated. So let's look at some of our competitors here and talk a little bit about that exactly. So we'll look over here at Isabel. Now, here's what judges want to see in wellness when it comes to conditioning. Okay, they want to see some soft lines, and you'll see those, clearly visible through her abs. Here, some very soft lines there. This is mainly, oblique line, things like that. That comes from being at a certain level of body fat. But you're going to notice there's not striation there, right? She's not shredded. She doesn't have that six-pack I talked about, everything like that. You'll see some soft lines here, like this glute to quad kind of line, right? You'll see these lines here. That's very soft. I mean, it's not chiseled. It's not striated. If you don't know, the quadricep muscle, it has 4 heads. It could literally show 4 different heads of that quadricep if she was too lean. Shoulders have the same thing. You'll look over here and you'll see this these kind of little cuts, this little bit of shape there. It's just these little lines that judges want to see because this is a softer level of conditioning. It's not super hard, not super striated. They don't want you being too lean. If you are too lean, you will score down, okay? And we see that especially here in this back pose for her glute ham tie here. It's definitely a softer glute ham tie out of the competitors we have seen here. And not to mention, look at this front pose quad. I mean, we have 0 lines going on at this point, okay? So that's what you got to look at. You got to really understand that this is a softer level of conditioning. We can even look over here at Urishna. You'll see a lot of the same things. You're going to see, these soft lines in the shoulders, these lines going down the abs, these lines into the quads, but we're not seeing these splits and these deep cuts, no deep glute ham ties, no overstriated, overcut, anything. So what you got to understand about conditioning as wellness is judges don't want to see you be too lean. They don't want to see you be too striated. They don't want to see you be too cut. And if you come to stage like that, you're going to score down, okay? You will. They'll tell you, hey, you know what? Go to figure. Figure's a much leaner division. Women's physique is even leaner than that. They'll tell you to move up. If you want to be really lean, you want to do all that, change your muscularity up, change your shape up and go move up into figure or something like that that's leaner. Wellness needs to be softer. And again, looking even at Francili, Miss Wellness Olympia winner, you're going to see these soft lines, no striations, no cuts, okay? And I can't explain this anymore to you. It's a softer level of conditioning. It's a very important, you have to get to this level. It's not to say, obviously, they didn't do anything to get to this level. I mean, they obviously did a lot of training, a lot of dieting, a lot of everything to get here, but you don't want to overdo it ever. If you overdo it, you're going to get scored down in wellness on stage, okay? So kind of a little bit of an insight into what judges are looking for now. And realistically, the third thing we would have to talk about is making sure you know how to do your posing, all right? What I always tell competitors is that, you're training on stage, you're training to get there, your improvement seasons, your muscle building, your dieting, your body fat percentages, your scale weights, all this. The judges really don't know any of that. They don't know if you've been training, for 12 weeks or 12 years to get to stage. They don't care how you did it either. All they're looking at is what's on stage. So posing becomes a very important thing, and you have to make sure that you have the right posing down in wellness, okay? You want to make sure that you know what poses suit you best, what poses suit your physique best, and what poses are going to work best for you on stage to give you the best wellness aesthetic. Because let's not forget, right? You stand any of these women up who are in our top 5 Olympia, you stand them up in a normal room. I mean, you might, in gym clothes or whatever, you may not tell how dramatic every part of their physique looks until they actually go and pose it, okay? And that's very key to understand, very important to know that posing is a big factor. It is a key. And here's the grand masterpiece of the whole video, right? Understand this, is that each athlete is going to be different. The way that you look on stage, the areas you need to improve, the way that your glutes are going to look, your shoulders going to look, your midsection is going to look, the poses you need to do, all of these things are going to be totally custom, for your physique. It's going to fit to your physique. That's why I said a lot, it's a lot of specific exercise selection here. It's a lot of different considerations when we're talking about how these women each approach their program. But if you look at all of them here, right, and you can see that each and every athlete, these might be the top, 4 or 5 Wellness Olympia competitors, but there's realistically still a lot of variances in how their physiques look. And so what really becomes important is that if you're going to embark on wellness and you want to make shortcuts, you want to make sure that you're not wasting your time, it's you understand the basics, you understand what the judges want to see, and you understand how to apply it to your physique, okay? And if you guys like this breakdown and the way I just did this in this video today, check out my physique assessment, okay? Because I literally do this exact thing where I will take your pictures and I will break it down and tell you your areas of improvement, your timelines to make them, and timelines for your contest prep, okay? And that's something we offer at teamflex.com/physique. We'll put it in the notes down here for you. But yeah, I do that service all the time. People love it. It's a great opportunity. It's $39. It's nothing. And you can shortcut, wasting a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort getting yourself to the stage. So definitely check that out if you're interested in that at all. But otherwise, take what you can from the video and understand wellness is its own division. It's something you really got to focus on. It's something that you really want to make sure you have these basics, these fundamental pieces down before you even start competing. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste of your time and a waste of your effort. All right. So if you guys like that, you want more videos diving deeper into this, because there's a lot I could continue. I know we're already getting pretty long here at this video though, but I barely touched on the basics of what wellness really is, and we could go so much deeper into what they actually want to see, the judges are looking for, and everything else. We could do that. So let me know if you want more videos like this in the comments below. And as always, you guys, we have our free coaching trial. Check that out at teamflex.com. Thanks for watching. Coach Rye is out.